Hey friends, I'm John, and for the next few minutes, let's learn a little bit more about this thing called baptism. We want to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing when you get baptized and why you're doing it. And hopefully, we can help you with some of your questions right now. Now, perhaps the first question is the biggest one. What is baptism anyway? Actually, that's a great question. You're here today because you heard something about getting baptized. Maybe a parent or someone you know told you about it, or you learned about it in a small group or summer camp. And you're here because you're curious about whether or not you want to get baptized yourself, but you're actually not quite sure what baptism is. Well, you've come to the right place. Baptism is a faith practice that churches all over the world have been doing since people first started following Jesus. In fact, Jesus himself was baptized. Let's see how Matthew wrote about it in Matthew chapter 3. Our story starts out with Jesus' cousin, John the Baptist. John lived out in the desert, and people from all over Judea traveled out to see him and to have him baptize them in the Jordan River. John was getting people ready for God's promised Savior to arrive. And it was at about that time that Jesus actually came to John. Jesus came from Galilee to the Jordan River. He wanted to be baptized by John, but John tried to stop him. So he told Jesus, "I need to be baptized by you, so why do you come to me?" John knew that Jesus was special, that Jesus was God's son, the one who would save the world. And John was shocked that Jesus wanted to get baptized. He thought that Jesus should be the one baptizing him. But listen to what Jesus said. Jesus replied, "Let it be this way for now. It is right for us to do this. It carries out God's holy plan." Then John agreed. And so John baptized Jesus. He baptized Jesus in the Jordan River, and then as Jesus was coming out of the water, something amazing happened. As soon as Jesus was baptized, he came up out of the water. At that moment, heaven was opened. Jesus saw the Spirit of God coming down on him like a dove. A voice from heaven said, "This is my son, and I love him, and I am very pleased with him." At that moment, God, Jesus' own Father, spoke and affirmed that Jesus was special. Jesus was God's son, the Savior God had been promising for hundreds of years. And for Jesus, this baptism was a way to show that he had come to change the world forever. Jesus set the example for baptism, and ever since, followers of Jesus have been baptized with water to show their family and friends that they believe that Jesus is God's son, that Jesus forgives their sin, and that Jesus makes a way for them to live with God forever. Baptism is an outward sign that they've made a personal decision to follow Jesus. Now, to answer another question you might have, here's my friend Ashbel.
But now you may be asking, why water? Why do I have to get wet to show that I believe in Jesus? Well, that's a great question. Let's think about it. What are some things that you know about water? Water is wet. It covers around 70% of the world, and it makes up 60% of our bodies. In fact, we need to drink water to survive. We need about 8 glasses of these a day. That's a lot of water. Water can be fun too. You need water for swimming, running through sprinklers on a warm day, water balloon fights, and of course, water slides. And on top of that, water is pretty useful, isn't it? Water is used to wash cars, dishes, and even ourselves. And that is why water is so important. For a long time, before Jesus was even born, water had been a symbol of getting clean, becoming pure, or starting over. And that's a huge part of what baptism is meant to show. Water is used in baptism to represent or show how, through Jesus, God washes away the sin that keeps us from having a good relationship with God. It's like the Apostle Paul wrote in his letter to the Colossians. When you were baptized, you were buried together with Christ, and you were raised to life together with him when you were baptized. You were raised to life by believing in God's work. God himself raised Jesus from the dead. Do you get what Paul was saying here? When we're baptized, it's a way to let others know that God has changed us from the inside out. When we're covered with water, it's like we're buried with Jesus. But when we come up out of the water, when the water washes away, it's like we're raised back to life with Jesus too. And it's not like the water is magical or anything, but the water makes us think about how God has given us a whole new life because of Jesus, a life that lasts forever with God.
Thanks, Ashbel. That was great. So, now that you know all that background about baptism, it's time to ask yourself, why should you get baptized? Why go through all the work? Why get in front of the church? Why get wet? Well, getting baptized is a way that we can follow Jesus' example. And it shows others that we're serious about practicing our faith in Jesus. It's a public way of saying, I care about following Jesus, and I want to be a part of this family of Jesus followers who can help me do that well. It's amazing to think that when we're baptized, we're participating in something that followers of Jesus have been doing for over 2,000 years. And now, you might still have some questions, and don't worry, you have all sorts of people around you who you can talk to so you can find answers and feel great about getting baptized. And remember, God is always with you each step of the way. God's Spirit is helping you become more like Jesus. And God's Spirit will let you know when you're absolutely sure that you're ready to take the next step in your faith and get baptized.